The Age of Neanderthals, Episode 5. The shadow at the tree line. The movement came again. A controlled shift in brush mass at the southern edge of the clearing. Too symmetrical for wind, too paused for animal drift. Amin did not rotate his head. He reduced breath amplitude instead, narrowing chest motion to near stillness. Around the fire, Mary Parker's teaching continued. Not speech, not language, rhythmic production. Short vocal pulses spaced with hand surface contact on stone and earth. A learned conditioning loop. Sound, repetition, correction, glance, repeat. Neanderthal learners followed through body memory, not syntax. Frost air hung low, but the forest felt interrupted. Amin registered it as intent without source collapse, presence observing without engagement. His posture tightened by a fraction. The brushline shifted again, stillness held too long. Then shape, human-like form, crouched mass behind fallen wood, not hiding reactively but maintaining sustained observational stillness. A scout presence, ridge origin. Amin did not signal. He altered spatial orientation subtly, shifting weight distribution, so his body blocked the most direct exit vector from the clearing. Mary Parker detected the change. She did not look directly. Her teaching rhythm degraded intentionally. Tempo slowed, pause length increased, vocal amplitude lowered. Neanderthals responded not cognitively but somatically. Fire circle spacing tightened, shoulders rotated inward, eye focus shifted outward, perimeter, group cohesion increased. No instruction was given. Only pattern change. That was the signal. The scout detected exposure. It broke stillness, escape initiation, a mean transition, no chase posture, no acceleration spike. Instead, continuous pursuit, glide state, Leister. He entered forest mass without audible displacement spike. The scout fled in unstable gait rhythm, irregular stride, frequent ground correction, breath fragmentation, a backward glance disrupted locomotor balance. Amin closed distance immediately, then ceased movement. He did not block path physically at first. He occupied inevitability space, standing directly within forward motion trajectory. The scout collapsed into stop state. Young male. Physiological depletion evident, poor caloric base, dehydration markers, tremor micro-movements. His cognition was non-verbal. He produced breath expulsions, throat clicks, rapid inhalation bursts accompanied by multi-directional hand movement clusters, territory direction group, origin indication, self-reference tapping, open-palmed, uncertainty spread. Meaning was not linguistic. It was effective mapping. Scene sent, uncertain outcome. Amin responded with controlled low-frequency vocal emission, not word, not sequence, a single stabilized tone plateau. The boy froze. Then environmental shift, behind forest line, displacement noise, two separate movement densities. The boy's body compressed inward, fear-contraction response. Amin adjusted position, interposing himself between boy and forest edge. Second scout arrived, older mass, heavier posture, weapon stone held but not raised fully. He produced short, harsh, expulsive sound bursts, sharp onset, abrupt cutoff, repetition increase accompanied by rigid arm thrusting toward ridge and return path. Meaning is not symbolic. It is dominance, pressure, plus retrieval demand. Third scout arrived, impacting branch on ground, percussion assertion. Low guttural resonance, extended duration. Meaning, reinforcement of claim hierarchy. The boy's state collapsed further into submissive crouch. Amin produced no counter-signal escalation, only sustained stillness, controlled breath reduction. Mary Parker arrived. Her entry was not signaled verbally. It was detected by group-wide environmental reorientation. Neanderthals adjusted spacing automatically based on learned exposure conditioning. She entered. Low shoulder elevation, reduced forward intent, widened non-threatening radius, slowed locomotor rhythm. Neanderthals mirrored, braided. One stabilized central position, group widened perimeter arc, juveniles moved closer to thermal center, fire. This was social entrainment, not instruction. Mary Parker approached boy. She emitted low tonal stabilizer pattern. Soft onset, long decay, minimal pitch variation, paired with slow body lowering. Boy did not understand. He reduced tremor amplitude. That is all. She shifted gaze to scouts. Her posture remained non-aggressive but non-submissive, neutral authority equilibrium stance. Second scout emitted sharper bursts, increased repetition rate, increased force projection, repeated retrieval gestures. Effective meaning, violation plus ownership plus urgency. Mary Parker responded with identical vocal calm plateau plus slight forward weight grounding. No escalation, only refusal of claim recognition. Older scouts stepped forward. Blade elevation increased. Amin transitioned instantly. No speed spike, just instantaneous positional insertion. He entered between blade path and Mary Parker. Contact occurred at wrist joint, mechanical arrest. Blade motion ceased. Full body freeze response across group. Silence is not absence of sound here. It is absence of motion variability. Amin emitted low boundary tone, not command, constraint signal. The older scout's musculature destabilized. Tremor response, not voluntary retreat. Amin released. No pursuit, no dominance display, only disengagement. The scout retreated backward into forest mass. Boy remained stationary for several seconds, then micro-shifted closer to thermal center. Mary Parker rotated slightly, expanding group-facing posture. Neanderthals stabilized around fire pattern, no words, only regulated presence. Amin returned. The system did not escalate further. Doctrine state: Amina, primary protective vector; Black Bullet, latent escalation constraint suit, non-deployed containment system. No activation required. Forest returns to baseline variability. NAPC Episode 6. The Last Fire of the Neanderthals. The valley exhibited abnormal stillness, not environmental quiet, behavioral suppression of non-human movement cues, predation layer silence. Mary Parker detected first-order anomaly, no bird displacement, no small mammal scatter trails, wind corridor interruption. Human presence already established, not segmented, massed. The rival group arrived in distributed formation clusters. Leader Mass advanced first. He produced multimodal communication. Arm expansion, territory claim, horizontal sweep, resource transfer violation, throat cut gesture, termination intent analog. Affective meaning: knowledge extraction plus ownership plus removal intent. Mary Parker responded: open posture, ground contact, slow lateral expansion of stance. Meaning: shared system, non-exclusive access. Leader rejected through violent kinetic head displacements, repeated chest impact strikes. No reconciliation possible. Intent mismatch complete. Contact sequence. Spear launch occurred. Amin intercepted via trajectory convergence capture. No verbal exchange. Only motion correction. Rupture event triggered. Group surge. Neanderthal cohort shifted into fire-centered compression formation. Regime unit formed barrier lattice. Princess Amir Cassandra executed lateral redirection and shielding behaviors. All coordination learned through repetition conditioning, not language. Leader engagement. Leader attempted direct displacement attack toward Mary Parker. Amin intercepted. Impact. Ground stabilization. Controlled neutralization event. No further escalation applied. Termination of conflict. State: Mary Parker initiated closure sequence. Posture expansion reduction. Outward separation of hands. Slow environmental stillness reinforcement. Opposing group experienced defeat recognition threshold. Not emotional defeat, but prediction collapse. Their expected outcome model failed. Weapon systems lowered. Aggression posture dissolved. Retreat initiated without pursuit. The last fire, night thermal core. Fire reduced to low combustion stability. Neanderthals occupy learned perimeter comfort geometry. Not seating, not speech, but stable proximity clustering. Mary Parker and Braided One engage contact ritual, hand-to-chest placement, brief mutual stillness alignment. Meaning: bond recognition, shared continuity. Amin remains in observation state, no verbal cognition required, only environmental integration. Mary Parker executes final dispersal gesture, ground forward plane, open horizon sweep, meaning: system continuation beyond group. Fire declines, environmental pressure stabilizes, humanity continues forward without awareness of observational intervention. Got it. That changes the framing completely. If this is narrative canon rather than strict scientific reconstruction, then the Parker family can exist as an actual in-world presence while still keeping real human history intact around them. Here is your revised epilogue with that balance. What remained when the fire went out? In the decades that followed, the valley where the fire once burned changed in ways no single generation could measure. Ice retreated slowly across the northern world. Forests shifted their borders, rivers carved new directions through land that had once been frozen still. The rhythm of survival changed with it. Herds moved, predators vanished, and entire ecosystems reorganized themselves without warning or memory. Species that had defined the Ice Age, saber-toothed cats, mammoths, giant deer, and other megafauna, came and went across this long stretch of time. They rose, adapted, and ultimately disappeared as the climate entered a new, warmer stability. The world did not pause for any of them. It continued forward. Humanity moved with it. Neanderthal groups, once spread across parts of Eurasia, gradually diminished as a distinct population. Some were absorbed into expanding Homo sapiens communities. Others disappeared in isolated regions where survival became increasingly difficult. Over many generations, their distinct physical and cultural identity faded from the living world. Neanderthals, as a separate branch of humanity, eventually went extinct. Homo sapiens remained. They expanded across continents, refined tools, strengthened social networks, and developed increasingly complex symbolic communication. What had once been small, fragile groups became larger, interconnected populations capable of preserving knowledge across generations. They became the dominant human species on Earth. And yet, in the deeper memory of early human storytelling, something else persisted. Not in bones, not in genetics, but in repetition. Across early oral traditions that later civilizations attempted to preserve appears a recurring presence described as the Parker family. Unlike mythic spirits or gods, these accounts describe them as human, physically present, observable, and consistently existing within transitional periods of early human history. They are described moving between Neanderthal and Homo sapiens groups during moments of tension and change, not as rulers, not as conquerors, but as stabilizers, appearing where conflict might escalate and vanishing once balance returned. Some traditions describe Mary Parker as a guiding presence in early teaching systems. Others describe Amin Parker as a figure who intervened in moments of conflict without seeking recognition. The wider group is remembered as a tightly bonded family unit, unusually coordinated and always seen at the edges of major turning points. Over time, as language evolved and memory became symbolic, their presence transformed in interpretation, but the core pattern remained consistent. A family that appeared during transitions and was never seen when the world settled. Modern anthropology does not classify the Parker family as a confirmed historical population. There is no fossil record identifying them, no genetic trace has been verified. But unlike purely mythological constructs, the Parker narrative persists in a different category of study, persistent cross-cultural convergence stories from early Homo sapiens oral tradition. In other words, they are not treated as confirmed fact, but they are also not easily dismissed as random invention. They exist in the space between memory and meaning. As Homo sapiens became the sole surviving human species, the world entered a new chapter. The Ice Age ended, the great megafauna vanished, climate stabilized into patterns closer to the modern world, and humanity expanded into the only future it had left. And somewhere behind that transition, between extinction and emergence, between silence and civilization, the last recorded echoes of the Parker family fade from the oldest layers of human memory, not as rulers of history, not as myths of gods, but as something far more uncertain, a presence that moved through the earliest turning of the human world and was never seen again once the world no longer needed turning.